What's up? How's it going? I'm gonna be drawing some heads here. I'm gonna be drawing some skulls, some robot skulls. Basically, I was gonna draw some robot helmets, and just for fun. And as I'm doing that, I'm gonna talk to you, and hopefully, we'll all learn and have fun and play around. So yeah, real quick, trying to think of a subject for drawing. And I've talked about like cleanliness. I've talked about like positivity, which is so important. Um, and there's so many mistakes, right, that you make along the way, like learning wise, and it's always it's always kind of like, in hindsight where you kind of learn all that stuff and you're kind of like, okay, well, shouldn't have done that, right? Shouldn't have done this, shouldn't have done that. And that has always been kind of one of the keys for me. I used to think I was really good at being very good at like spotting my own mistakes while they were happening, but it's always after where you realize like, oh dang, like I spent years not being able to do this. So for example, procrastination in drawing, right? How do you minimize that? How do you get over that? I still get it, but to be honest, I don't get it anywhere close to as much as when I was coming up in the drawing world. As much as I just don't get it as much anymore. I still procrastinate. Don't get me wrong. I just did it for this comic that I was participating in. I was participating in a comic anthology, and yeah, I had a few months to it and a few months to do it, and I ended up just kind of putting it off, not totally till the last minute, but I was running up kind of near the end of the clock. So when I'm thinking of like a helmet, for example, I elongated the top of the skull just to do something. I don't know. I'm more or less just kind of toying with shapes right here, as I do sometimes, and just kind of creating stuff, maybe just working on my tech. And I've talked about that. I kind of I stepped back from that a little bit because I've been busy with that comic that I ended up finishing last week. So I was really focused. Also, I've kind of been working a lot more on my color. I've been trying to color stuff on my iPad. And maybe one day I'll do an iPad session of this where I'm just kind of like talking through it and figuring it out. But something I want to talk about, which I was kind of touching on, is what is that procrastination, right? And I've talked about this before. There's a great book. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's completely free on YouTube, I think, the audio version. It's basically a book about how creatives get to this point in their, drawing, painting, whatever, craft, or maybe like writing a book or something. And they get to a certain point and they pull back or they just don't want to finish it. They just can't finish it, about 70% of it, right? That's a great book, and it's called it's called The War of Art, not The Art of War, The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield, and go Google it. It's completely free on what do you call it? On YouTube. Somebody put it there. So great book, really short. And basically what he's talking about like you're building resistance over these things that are really not that hard, which is totally true, right? Like you ever done a task or had a task to do and you've pushed it off for like 4 months or something, and then you do it and you're like, wow, that took like 10 minutes. Like that took like 20 minutes, right? That's kind of like that same mindset into procrastinating, finishing up your art. I think for myself, if you don't finish anything drawing wise, if you don't finish the thing that you're doing on, it kind of looks nice as this sketch that never was a finished drawing. You kind of do it and you can't mess it up, right? Next drawing, let it be a squirrel with a top hat, please. I have no idea what that means, but Bruno, thank you. Maybe I will. But wait, what was I talking about? That squirrel comment really threw me off. I'm sorry, Bruno. Forgive me. What was I talking about? Oh, procrastination. Yeah, so I think sometimes when it looks like it's a drawing in the making, it can kind of like look like it could be good, and then you just never finish it because you don't want it to like suck, right? If it like actually sucks, you're like, oh dang, that's too bad. I did this drawing and it didn't work out. Now it's a bad drawing. It's not just a good start in my sketchbook. Now it's just a terrible drawing, right? And I know for me that was a big thing. That was a huge thing where I was like, I don't want this drawing to be bad. It'll be good and all that. So I had a lot of starts, right, in my sketchbook where it was a lot of heads, a lot of like human heads, but nothing ever really, you know what I mean? Nothing like risky, which is kind of what some sketchbooks are for, right? They're there to have you be a little risky, to try stuff out, to experiment. And it doesn't have to be a lot of experimentation, but you also want to experiment with drawing stuff you don't normally draw in different ways, right? If you don't normally draw, animals, you have some little, dorky animals there, and you're like, oh man, those are weak, but you want that stuff in your sketchbook, and that's kind of what some sketchbooks are for. So you don't want to put that stuff off. The other thing I want to talk about is when you procrastinate stuff like that, you're procrastinating your ability to get better. That's humongous. So like the more you're putting that stuff off, the more you're putting off learning how to draw, I don't know, hands or something like that, the more you're putting that off slowly, and you're just like, oh, it'll take care of itself at some point. The more you do that, the more you're holding yourself back from becoming, that better version of yourself, drawing wise. Let me zoom in a little bit. This thing is far away. Ugh. There we go. So I don't know what I'm inspired by there. I have no clue. I put some of those little screw marks, to make it look a little bit more industrial. But does that make some sense, right? If you're procrastinating and you're procrastinating your drawing, you're, especially a learning, something learning related, I mean, you're really just holding yourself back. And maybe that has to do with, I don't know what, right? That has to do with, I know for me, when I was holding myself back, yeah, it was like identity issues. It's kind of like, oh, wow, I'm getting really good at something. Like, that can't happen, right? And I was holding myself back, and then I burned out. Find out what that is for you. Usually there's a reason for that. Usually with a procrastination, not always, usually, sometimes, many times, there's a benefit on the other side of that you're not aware of, like a weird little benefit. I'm like, okay, so like for me, it was, if I didn't finish my drawings, I wouldn't have like a terrible drawing in my sketchbook, right? But, it might go deeper than that. It might be, hey, I am good at this, and if I do a bad drawing, maybe I'm not as good as I thought, right? That's a little too deep, but, if we're getting really deep, right, you want to think about something like that. Okay, that's one little head right there. It's kind of like a thumbnail in a way. Let's go over here and go to the next one. Ugh. Okay, this one's a little bit more like a mask or something. I just kind of scribble it in there. That's what I'm seeing, though. I'm seeing something more of a mask type thing. Boom. So there's a lot of okay, Daisy. Yeah, so there's a lot of that stuff. I would say a lot of the books with art that are great, and they talk about like progression and stuff like that. A lot of them are like those skill books. It's not always just pure art books. It's a lot of those are I cannot remember. I think it's called Mastery, and I don't remember who wrote it because I think there's a couple of books named Mastery. What character is that? Oh, Sosa. It's just a made up. These are just made up little thumbnails I'm doing for myself to just experiment with shapes. Maybe I can come up with an idea to morph these guys into like a full character later on or something like that. They're just ideas. It's more just for fun, really. I just had to turn the camera on. I've been trying to get a podcast together. And by podcast, I mean, I don't know, I cringe when people say, I want to get a podcast together, right? I kind of cringe sometimes when people say that. So what I'm trying to do is I would like to do, I have like a specific vision. I would like pretty much kind of similar to Drawfee, but a little bit different. So I don't know, where we're all drawing random stuff on a public board, me and my friends, me and my other art friends, and then we're just talking, and then I could just chop that down to 10 minutes or something. That's kind of what I was thinking. It's kind of half-baked idea. I'm just kind of trying to work that out, but definitely not an audio kind of thing where we're talking for an hour. I think those audio podcasts that are about art, I don't know why, I need a visual to accompany it for some reason for me. I can't really quite do it if it's simply just, audio. I literally need to look at something for these art podcasts. Then I just don't see the point. Otherwise, I don't know if anyone else is like that or not. Curving back over here. And I'm trying to bring a little bit more tech into this right now, because right now it's a little simplistic, a little more superhero-like. So maybe I want to bring a little bit more tech into this, right? So let's do a little knob right there. Maybe another one over here, right? Another little knob. Maybe I can do more tech versions of characters that are already established. Maybe something like, I don't know, like Jason Voorhees, but tech. I don't really want to do that right now, but I just meant like a general idea for later on. One of the hardest things about drawing anything like tech is you don't have to have your ellipses perfect, but you want to practice your ellipses. So this angle, right? That can't be totally circle, because totally circle would mean it's facing us. Getting deep space. Ooh, I like that. Deep space. You mean Deep Space Nine? Is that what you mean? Or are you talking about Deep Space, like another property? Because I was like a big Star Trek fan, like Deep Space Nine. But maybe you don't mean that. See, George Lopez, I definitely real. Thank you. There you go. Yeah. So what else? What else is going on? Procrastination. That's what I was talking about. Yeah, it's tough, man. Sometimes procrastination can be deeper than that. Sometimes it's more like, hey, if I get good at this, that means I'll get this is too deep, but if I do this, I'll get a job, and then I have to just work, and no, I'm no longer going to have the fun time, the fun art times. It's going to be all work now. I got to do it all for a job. Because I know people say otherwise, right? They'll say like, if you're drawing for a living, it's like fun every day. I don't know who said that, but I thought I heard somebody say that before. That is ridiculous, right? Because you're going to be drawing stuff you don't want to draw. And it's not even just draw, right? You're a designer, right? Because they're throwing in like AI weird stuff now. And I was talking to my friend who works at DreamWorks, and she was telling me, she went to school with me, and she works at DreamWorks right now. And I was talking to her about how AI is hitting the industry there, like the movie industry. And she's saying that nobody's losing their jobs, at least at DreamWorks for now. But what's happening is that they are just hiring less people and kind of using AI as part of the pipeline a little bit. And then, but you still need to learn how to design. You still got to chop up images and move them around and change very specific things that only like a designer can do it real quick. At least the turnaround time is a lot quicker with a designer, like getting an AI image and chopping it up and pulling that from there. And so, yeah, that's what she told me. That's what's occurring right now. She's out there in Pasadena, or I forgot where DreamWorks is at, but up in that area, up in that LA area. But yeah, so we'll see. But my point still stands. You're still drawing, right? There's still art jobs. Those do exist, right? You can still do this stuff for a living. That's absolutely true. And if you don't want to, if you just want to chill out, be good at something. I got to put his cheekbone over here. That's a structure thing. There's something called rhythms. Weird tying stuff. It's a Riley method thing. But basically, if there's a cheek on this side, how far is it going to come out on that far side, right? It's going to come out quite a bit. Okie dokie. Let me see something like that. A little bit weird of an angle. But that's what the sketchbook is for, right? By the way, and if I really screw up, I can always throw the page out, right? I can always just literally just like rip the page out of the sketchbook if I have to. All right. Going over here. I love this pen, by the way. The pen is very, very thin, so you can't, I do love that brush pen as well, the one I used last time, but I just love the fact that I never have to this thing doesn't splotch like some fountain pens. This is a Pilot, I forget what it's called. I've said it so many times. Pilot, I think it's called High-Tech C, I think. High-Tech C Pilot? Fine Point? Yeah, I think that's what it is. I'll write it somewhere, or I'll make a video about it later. But it's my favorite pen to sketch with, right? I mean, don't be afraid to sketch with pen, by the way. A lot of people talk about that. They're afraid to do that. And if you're learning art and you're actively trying stuff out, get a special sketchbook or a special stack of paper or something where you just draw in pen. Because when you're drawing in pen and you go back to drawing in pencil, you're going to feel like a superhero. Because you're like, oh, okay, pencil, I actually have the edit button, right? Built into the thing. I can actually change this. Where when you're drawing in pen, you're like, your brain will tell you, be careful. You can't erase anything, right? So you have to be careful. So, be aware of that. Absolutely try that. Like if you haven't tried that, try that tomorrow or now. Absolutely try drawing in pen. Okay. I'm okay with his head. It's not like I like it more than the other one. I think it's a little more dynamic. Let's scoot over to another one over here. Let's see, over here. All right, let's go over here to this guy on the right. This rabbit-looking thing. Okay. Another kind of mask. Okay, so we're going to go over here. Starting with a little bit of a larger eye. I'm still thinking generally gas mask. This eye is bigger. Why? Because it's facing us, right? Over there, right? It's going to slightly turn away from us, so it's going to look smaller, even though it's not. It's wrapping around the corner. Which is a very big structure thing that I always talk about. You'll kind of see that a lot with human eyes as well. That same thing, it wraps around the side. Let's see, middle of forehead. I want to put like, oh man, I just saw that Toriyama stuff too. I'm thinking about that gas mask, his character wears, but I hope I'm not going to imitate that too much. But also, here's another thing. I'm not trying to be original. I'm just drawing from my mind, I mean, obviously I'm working ideas out. Maybe I'll find something I can change around enough. But my goal is not to be totally original right now. My goal is to just get something down on the paper that, I mean, honestly, at the same time, this is therapeutic for me. Like I really do. I really find this enjoyable to just do this here on camera here. It's entertaining. It's oopsie daisy. Those circles are hard in pen. You got to be really careful about that. That is dangerous. Gonna go line. Let me see. Pull line in, right there. Line in over here. You also got to remember the dexterity of your hand is really important, and I've talked about that ad nauseum about what you should do for that. I would draw draw 2 dots on the page and draw a straight line from them. Try to hit them in one shot. That will help your dexterity. That's a huge thing, because I couldn't draw if my dexterity was really low. It doesn't matter what I know, right? It doesn't matter what I know about drawing. If my dexterity is really low and my hands are really shaky, everything's gonna look like poop, probably. Unless you have those guys that draw in a sketchy style, but that's super rare for guys to draw in a sketchy style where they know what they're doing. There's tons of them, and I've talked about this before in other videos. Some people will draw sketchy and they'll be like, "That's my style," and you look at it, you're like, I don't think they know how to draw. I think it's just messy. There's a difference between messy controlled and messy not controlled. And honestly, I don't know a lot about how to tell the. I mean, I know how to tell the difference, but I don't know how to verbalize why it's different yet. I'm sure there's videos online I can look at, or someone must have come up with a way to kind of convey that to somebody. Okie dokie, let's see right here. Throwing a little bit, I don't know what's gonna be at the front here, maybe like a triangle or something. Triangular shape. Line over here. Will this be concave or convex? Maybe like right here, maybe there's like a little concave thing. None of this makes sense, right? This is all shape design. None of this is like practical, like, hey, take this and go make a real mask out of it, right? Or like a real functioning, gas mask out of it, right? This is all just nonsense, right? It's design without function. And that's fine. That's all I'm after. Okay. Let's go to this side first, and then I'll put in that far cheek over here. So if I'm drawing a line over here, how is this mask going to look? Maybe right there. Maybe right here. I got to remember the forehead, right? Structure. Forehead is it's like flat, leaning back a little bit. It can be leaning really far back depending on your character type. And then it goes around the corner here, and it drops down for kind of that side of the temple. We're still imitating human anatomy, right? Even though this is a mask, right? But it's on a human face. That's why you're thinking about anatomy as well. All right, go over here. pulled down just a bit along the side, and maybe there's not a lot of cheekbone popping out. So I like that right there. Okay, let's go over these weird rabbit things I put, because I just kind of scribbled stuff in, and I'm trying to like make some sort of design out of it. Let's go up here, up, back. I guess it'll be like leather or cloth or something goofy like that. Down over here. Alrighty. And that top there will probably be cloth and not tech. As I'm doing this too, I'm thinking about what material it might be made out of, because that's gonna matter in my drawing, right? If that's material, it's gonna have a little fold here, right? I don't think, you know what? I can't make it material though. I'm trying to do more tech. So let me try to make that tech. Yeah, let me try to make that tech. I don't know why there'd be a joint there, but okay, if it's tech, maybe it's gonna go up like that. It's gonna be a little bit more of a flexible surface, so maybe the back of it, there's gonna be ridges maybe over here where the whole thing might flex a little bit, like a little like goofy hat. Whoops, daisy. I should do a video on like correcting mistakes in pen as well. So like, for example, if there's a giant ink blot that comes out, I'll probably just, what do you call it? I don't know, make it a parrot, make it a crow. That was a joke. We used to do inkings a lot. My least favorite drawing tool is the quill. I don't know if anybody's used a quill before. Has anybody here used a quill? You have videos or general tips straying from sketchy line work. I do have some. I think I have on TikTok. Yeah, I have like one or two in there. I have a few, and not that long ago. If you just scroll down, and I know there's one in the last 20 videos I've made. I'm like 100, almost 100%. There's one in there. If not, you can go to my YouTube. I think I have it linked in there, and I have a video on that. I think, but yeah, it's the easiest thing on earth. And you know, I'm gonna go over right now again, because you know some people haven't seen it, right? There's new people. Real quick. So I've talked about it a lot. You put a dot right here. Let's say dot anywhere, doesn't matter where. Put a dot over here. Obviously, it might be better doing a bigger page than this. I'm just trying to demonstrate it, right? And you try to hit them in one shot. You try to connect it in one shot. Boom. Oh, see, there's a gap right there. Let me try it again. See, a little bit closer. Dang, man. Can't get it. But you do that. Try it backwards, right? Go a little bit over. Then you do more dots. You just do that through the whole page. And the most important thing, this is the most important thing. I guess I kind of glazed over it last time. And I talk about this once in a while, but I don't mention this as much as I should. You don't want to draw from your wrist. So I don't want to draw, you know how you anchor your wrist when you're right? You don't want to do that. What you want to do, so if I anchor my wrist, it kind of creates this. So if I anchor my wrist, I'm drawing like kind of in a circular pattern right there, naturally. See, it's an axis. It's going to be circle. So what is that going to turn into? It's going to turn into something like that, right? So to make it straight, it's going to be kind of, I mean, I could do it still, but I mean, you know, because I guess I'm trained to do it, but it's so much easier if you move at your elbow and your like shoulder, you know, combination a little bit, like right here, and then you maybe anchor it with your pinky only. You just anchor it with your pinky. You know what I mean? And your range of motion is wider and bigger. You can do all kinds of stuff. And I'm just anchoring it with my pinky. I'm sliding around, but right now I'm moving at the shoulder, elbow right now, kind of around there, combination. A lot of shoulder. Right? Free. I can do all kinds of stuff. So that would be, you know, move with the shoulder and then practice those dots and maybe practice circles. And, you know, if you're a messy person, you're going to find, I'm not joking, you're going to find maybe within like a month, if you do that every day for like half an hour, that your stuff's going to get cleaner without you really even consciously doing it. Because a lot of your messiness, you know, okay, 9 out of 10 times, right? I'm not going to like pigeonhole myself and say every single person, but 9 out of 10 times, a lot of your messiness comes from lack of control. And lack of control usually comes from lack of the building of the muscles in those little tiny muscles in your hand and arm, like these little ones that you don't use for this. We don't use for it. Why are we going to use that for, right? You know what I mean? Usually it's like unstable and stuff, and there's like shaking. So a lot of that is just that. It's just training those muscles. If you got like a messy problem because of other reasons, I don't know. I mean, I guess the other reason could be, maybe worrisome knowledge, right? You're not quite sure what to put down, so you're putting down too much. I guess that could be another one. But 9 out of 10 times I see more of a lack of control. That's huge, and it's easy to fix, like really easy. It's funny too. I've seen people draw for like, well, I've met people that said they've been drawing on and off for like 30 years or 40 years, like older people. And I'll see their drawing. I'm like, dang, man, they have like beginner mistakes. And the beginner mistakes are almost always like that problem, that lack of control in their arm. Just like that specific lack of control, right? For drawing, very specific. But it's easy. And I guess the other way to do it is to draw like a ton, right? If you draw a ton, you're just going to naturally have to fix that issue, but you might as well target it and like, knock it out of the way or make it way better so you can think about other stuff like, like anatomy, and structure and, simple shapes, design, all that. There's so much other stuff to think about than just like control, right? Okay. I'm putting a big tube coming out of his neck here. Let's see. Thank you for... yeah, thanks so much, man. Yeah, well, thanks for commenting, odd stranger. Yeah, thanks so much. I'm just put like a giant tube coming out of here. None of this makes sense. Going over here now. All right, let's see. Maybe a small tube over here. I gotta push my tech more because I am just creating this stuff from my mind. I gotta go back and look at other tech shapes to incorporate into my drawing. I think that would help a bunch, even though it's a lot of the same stuff. But I would like to go into. I'd like to pull some different shapes, but for me personally, it's a lot of tubes and boxes overlaying each other, and my structure is good enough that I can kind of like BS a lot of shapes, like to make it look at least mildly like it looks like it might do something, or or it looks pretty. Maybe I don't want to say like it looks functional because it doesn't, but I want to say where it looks designed well enough to get by. This stuff gets easier too over time. That's a big thing. Like anything you put your mind into. I'll say this. I'm having and I'll tell you this is like my goal. One of my goals was getting better at color. Color, I think I'm actually starting to pick up pretty well. I was always okay at color. I always did like, whenever I did a painting, I, died, but I never really like did a lot of cool coloring with, with comic book style colors, like anime stuff where they really experiment with the colors. And you're like, wow, that's really pretty. I'd never been like that. I was never that. Color scared me. That was huge, and it still kind of does to some extent. But although I'm really trying to drill it now, that I'm starting to see big improvements in my color already. But something that I just cannot get good at, and I'm trying really hard, is I'm trying to get pinups. I'm trying to get good at pinups. Those like like attractive women. Dang man, I went over that line right there. Dang, see that's a mistake. I mean, obviously it's tiny. I don't want those tubes to intercross. Whatever. Drawing attractive women, I am trying really hard to do that, but I do not know why. I cannot get like flowing hair that well. I will get lucky and get flowing hair sometimes, but I should make a video on that or talk about that. Like that is so, I think the difference between drawing like attractive pinup stuff and drawing stuff like this, or even like like regular people, just people about doing their thing. I think the biggest difference is that when you're drawing people and you're drawing like stuff like this, and you're drawing tech, and you're drawing monsters, you're drawing everything else, drawing warriors. I think when you draw that stuff, it's very, very structural. So to make them like stiff and like have a lot of structure on them, it's not a bad thing. It looks good. But then when you draw like an attractive female, a lot of that stuff is based on subtlety, like very, very subtle, soft shapes in the face, not overly structuring, because the more lines you put into something, it tends to they either look more structured or it ages the character more. So like when you do that with an attractive female type, when you're drawing them, it's almost like the less you do, the better sometimes, and every line can be like if something's like a little bit off on an attractive female type. Like I'm talking like a line is just like not over here, it's down here. All of a sudden they have a big chin. You know, like all of a sudden it changes the type. Or like the flowing of the body, right? In a drawing of a pinup girl. It's like that flow, that gesture, that the S curve and stuff like that. That stuff is so subtle and I just can't get it yet. You know, I still can't draw like flowing hair that well. I do okay, but I want to get that that intense, really cool flowing hair. I see a lot of in like you know, certain pinup art and you know, like certain manga will do that very well as well. I gotta drill that now. I gotta drill a lot of that stuff. Usually I'll do something and I'm like, it's missing personality. That's kind of my problem when I draw an attractive female type. It's missing personality. That's the best way to put it. All right, we're going down here, going over here. I kind of like this one. I like the parts right here, the weird wires kind of floating around. I kind of dig it actually. This one I'm digging. You know, you could do something even harder, right? You could for yourself, if you want to do something similar, you could actually just set timers to it as well. You could be like, all right, I'm only going to take 10 minutes of this one, 15 minutes of this one. And you're like, next, beep, you gotta go next. You can do that, do your own little timed life drawing. I want to do that because I want the design language to match, right? You don't want one thing on one side and not on the other one. Okay, let's do one more. Let's see. Let me just scribble one in here. What's another one over here? What's a bizarre shape? I want like a weird looking shape. Maybe like a Wolverine thing, head. I don't know. Something like that. I'm just kind of scribbling nonsense so I can see. You're trying to build your own Rorschach, right? You're trying to like scribble in stuff and you're like, you kind of have an idea. I kind of have an idea in my head. At the same time, I'm kind of like searching for the ideas as well. So it's like a half and half. Let me see. Maybe like some sort of inspired by Gundam. Dang, man. That I don't have room up here. Okay, forget this. Maybe some like over here. Oh no. Wait, let me think. I'm thinking too hard. Yeah, same thing. It's got to be a mask. I kind of like the canister, but let's throw maybe like a bunch of canisters, you know, like a bunch of baby canisters on the side of his face. I don't know what function. And I'm digging the tubes. Yeah, maybe a little bit more of a flatter head. I don't know. This is the loose idea. All right, let's jump in. Okay, let's go over here. Okay, starting from the center, pulling out over here, pulling back in. He's got like a boomerang stuck to his head almost, so it looks like. Over here. There you go. See the line over here. Cool. Alrighty, and let me see the front of his face over here. So I forgot my hand in the way. That's the problem with a lot of this stuff. Sometimes I got my hand in the way of whatever, and it kind of blurs the camera out. It's like really annoying. All right, let's go over here now. Boom, boom. Down over here, bottom of the face right there. Pulling up. Down over here. Cool. What kind of eye type is he going to have? I definitely want him to have that kind of eye type, but smaller. And the reason you want to do that is because of proportion. Proportion meaning like he's already got this big thing in his head right here, this big boomerang looking thing. So I don't want to give him a giant eye as well, because then it's like big and big. You want to have big, small, or whatever. You know what I mean? Or like, you know, these two are bigger, and you know what I mean. You want to vary up the size of features. Otherwise, if everything's big, it looks there's no proportion, right? It becomes a non-design pretty much. Let me see right here. Yeah, often the things that like the reason things look small and big is almost always, you know, like in a drawing, right? Would be because of the contrast of like other features or something else in there. Otherwise, Yeah, like, what, you're just going to blow up everything on the page? It makes no sense. All right. That's this eye. His far side eye is going to be, I don't know why I'm having a tough time finding it. It's going to be around the corner over here a little bit. There you go. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. All right. Let's go into these little canister things. I wanted to make a few of these little canisters. So let's just say he's got like a little, every little circle here is going to be, I'll draw a little one here, little one here. Let's do like 4 right there. He's going to have 4 little, I don't know, gas canisters. Why he would have 4 and why that would make sense, I have no idea. That ellipse is a little bit different than that ellipse. I messed up, but whatever. It's life. I remember watching Jim Lee draw, the great Jim Lee, and he was doing a demonstration, and he was like, sometimes you only notice your own mistakes, and other people don't totally notice them, or they just kind of let them go, right? Like squiggly lines, like even though the like, let's just say the drawing in general is like pretty dang good, but there are certain mistakes that the artist sees that they despise, and it kind of reminds me of Shredder. Yeah, dude. I think because I just drew Shredder yesterday. I don't know. I was on live drawing Shredder. I don't know if anybody saw that, but that's probably why I still got Shredder in my mind. For reals, yeah. Oh man, if you guys want to see a repeat of that Shredder live, go to the YouTube. I think I have a YouTube linked. In the bio there. But yeah, I did Shredder yesterday. Well, I finished Shredder because I think he was like, I needed a shoulder pad. I needed to finish some of the helmet there. But yeah, I was thinking very Ninja Turtles-y, right, on this one. I just in general, like it's a very similar design language to Ninja Turtles and stuff. I've been watching a lot of Dragon Ball, and I've been looking at the design language and how that's changed over the course of many years. It's fascinating, because I've been watching a lot of the older Dragon Ball movies. I think this needs a little bit of a 3D shape right there. Maybe something like right here. I think that needs a little like edge right there, in my opinion. But I was watching a lot of stuff in Dragon Ball and seeing how that changed, right? Like a lot of the designs from the 80s looked very, very 80s. Like I don't know what it is, like a lot of chainmail and, maybe not chainmail. There's a lot of like leather and different outfits in a lot of the 80s stuff. And then like the new designs are more like I don't know, like iPhones or something. It looks totally different. You could tell that they stuck to this newer, simpler design language. But yeah, it was really fun to see. I was really fascinated by seeing that over the years. But yeah, Ninja Turtles is one as well. Their styles changed a lot because they've changed entire universes, right? They had the 90s cartoon, which I loved, and then they had, what did they have? Then they had TNMT, right, in 2007, as far as cartoons go. I guess the movies count as well too, of course. Okay, hold on. I got to see how I'm going to get this junk over there. Okay, so I have to even this stuff on that side. I'm like, ugh, okay. Because I was doing this and I'm like, oh man, I think I'm making more work. I don't know if anybody feels that. Sometimes I'm like, oh dang, dude, I did too much. Now I have to figure this out on that side. I give myself work. That's funny. All right, let's go over here. But shouldn't think like that. Always think positive. So I'm looking at the distance between this, whatever the heck this is on his cheek, and his eye, right? This is how you're following the rules of your own drawing. So this space to this space is it's pretty small. So I want to keep that shape over here on this side pretty tight, right? I have to acknowledge that and be like, it's going to be a little tight, because what I want to do is I want to make this a little bit further away. I don't know why my internal me wants to do that, but that is not happening. So I'm going to go over here. Try to keep it relatively similar in distance, right? You're creating your own rules. You're trying to follow them as much as you can, which is funny. All right. See, a lot of this stuff, if this was like a paid design or something, a lot of this stuff would be, I would have penciled that out a little bit longer. But since we're just doing sketchbook stuff, it's different. Okay, so if he has these little canisters, they're going to be turned differently. Those are little cylinders. So they're going to be turned on that far side. So that means, hold on. That means you're going to be seeing little to almost So it's gonna be more like that. Little to almost nothing of that top right there. Oh God. Let me see this. Hold on, sorry, I'm thinking. Hold on. Maybe over, so this one will be like over here. Right? You might not even see the top because you're gonna see a lot of mostly the sides. Over here as well. Okie dokie. I'm just taking a ballpark guess right there, and you probably won't even see that one. That one's too far. Maybe you'll see the edge or something over there. Yeah. Yeah, that works. That works all right. I'm okay with that. Okay. Let's give him a flat head over here. I'll give him like a relatively flat head. There you go. Maybe draw like some ridges on that head as well. Ooh, dang, man. That line was starting to pull. I don't know if you ever draw a line, it starts to pull one direction, and you're like, I gotta pull it back. I'm drawing in pen. What was I talking about? Shredder designs. Yeah. I'll be honest. I didn't like them. We're talking about Ninja Turtles. I don't like the Michael Bay designs at all. At least of the Ninja Turtles. I get why. I like the idea of all of them being very, very unique. Oh yeah, thanks so much. Thanks so much, Odd Stranger. Thanks. Have a good one, man. The Michael Bay stuff, I absolutely get where they were coming from, making them unique. Everybody has like, a lot of different stuff, because I know a lot of them were usually like the same, right? A lot of like Ninja Turtles designs were the same. I like that new one. What's it called? Mutant Mayhem. Those are awesome designs. I think those are great. Those are amazing. I think that takes like the Michael Bay stuff as far as like the uniqueness of each one and carries it over into a little more lighthearted kind of thing. They're not quite as like, badass or anything like that, but they're pretty cool. They're pretty cool. I thought that, to be honest, it was all their faces in the Michael Bay one. I thought their faces just looked so gross. And I really wished they had given them more of like that turtle snout that that the Ninja Turtles have had. I think if they just made it like that, I probably would have felt totally different. But I was just kind of like, dang man, these guys' faces are gross. And I'm surprised they decided on that. Usually they try to decide on a kind of a more uniform design. Anyways, that's kind of it. We've been drawing here for a while. I just drew these 4 little heads here. I want to just kind of goofing off. I should have erased it, but thank you so much for watching. I'm going to be back tomorrow. Hit me up. Go check out my YouTube. If you want to learn more about drawing, I have like 2 YouTube channels, and I think one of them is linked. I'll link the other one in there later. So we'll talk soon, okay? Thank you so much. We'll talk tomorrow. Try to go on tomorrow. Ugh.